Chapter 2208. What Restia said was exactly what Claire wanted. She needed to be strong, not only for Dushless, but also for her other worry, her sister. Therefore, Claire needed powerful strength. Claire subconsciously reached out her small hand to grab the crimson ball of light. You want to use me to deal with Dustless? Claire suddenly recalled Dustless's smiling face and stopped as if she had been electrocuted. That's right, that's my plan. Facing Claire's question, Restia didn't deny it and said coldly, in order to get me, that guy used tricks to drive a wedge between me and the god. Why can't I take revenge? Claire frowned when she heard this. In fact, she didn't have any objections to this matter. The nature of this world was that the strong preyed on the weak. Just like how she had always wanted to snatch away the holy sword that sealed Esther, it was survival of the fittest. If God Fengzhou lost, he could only blame himself for being inferior. Dustless has a better future than God Fengzhou. Although she was unhappy with Dustless's promiscuous lifestyle, Claire couldn't deny that 10 God Fengzhou stacked together couldn't compare to one Dustless. You're right, he's indeed very different. Restia nodded slightly. This was a fact and there was no need to deny it. But, does this have anything to do with me? Since he wants to drive a wedge between me and the god, is there anything wrong with me helping you deal with Dustless's other women? Back and forth. Claire opened her mouth and found herself speechless. Restia was right. If Dustless could deal with God Fengzhou, then why couldn't Restia deal with Dustless's women? This was very fair. This damn school is really big. Dustless ridiculed. Beside her was Alice. Alicia Elven Academy was too big and needed a tour guide. It was impossible to rely on Dustless alone. Thus, Alice, who owed Dustless a favor, volunteered to help Dustless find Claire. Claire's older sister is a sore point in her heart. All these years, she's always wanted to sign a contract with a powerful spirit, but she failed every time. Now that she's disappeared, she probably went to find another powerful spirit. On the street, Alice explained to Dustless that Claire sounded very familiar. What the hell? I remember that you and Claire are enemies, right? After listening to your explanation, why do I feel like you're secretly observing her? Could it be that Linslet has possessed him? Wu Chen asked in surprise. The smile at the corner of his mouth was full of meaning. Alice's pretty face turned red, and her expression was awkward. She stuttered, not knowing what to say. Hypocrite. Esther glanced at Alice and continued to eat her ice cream. I'm the leader of the night group. I need to understand the personality of every student in Alicia and make sure that they're not bad people. Alice found a lame excuse to deal with it. This excuse is really lame, isn't it, Esther? Dustless said, curling his lips. Yes. Esther nodded innocently. Everything Dustless said was right to her. You. Alice angrily looked at the master and servant pair. Unable to vent her anger, she could only change the topic. No matter what, as long as there are elves, Claire can appear. I previously heard that there was a battle about military elves, no need to say more. Let's go there. Dustless's eyes flashed as he ordered in a serious tone. Contract spirits were summoned through a contract with the spirit user, but military spirits could be controlled without a contract. They had a wide range of uses, and regardless of the spirit user's ability, most people could draw out a certain degree of power from the military spirit. This was what Claire needed. In the original book, she participated in this competition. Okay, follow me. Although she didn't know why Dustless was so sure, Alice, who had no clue, could only nod. She didn't know where Claire went anyway, so she could only search one place at a time. On the other side, the competition about the military spirit. Even though Claire's previous performance was rather outstanding, almost all the enemies she met defeated her with valiant strength, and she was incomparably impressive. But as the saying goes, the bird that sticks out will be shot. Sometimes, being too outstanding wasn't a good thing. It would cause jealousy. The other competitors who wanted to win the military spirit achieved their goal of eliminating Claire as an obstacle. TSK, this girl is very outstanding. Her spirit is also very strong. It's just that it hasn't been discovered yet. Celestia, who was secretly observing the competition, nodded lightly. Claire's strength was indeed not bad. But Dustless, that brat, what's so special about him that he can win the favor of so many girls at the same time? Are the taste of girls nowadays so bad? Obviously thinking of something bad, Celestia's pretty face immediately became unhappy. She cursed inwardly, she's clearly a sunny and strong girl. Why is she following that bastard Dustless? What kind of charm does that brat have? Celestia understood. No matter if it was Claire, Linslet, or Alice, they were all outstanding figures among their peers and could be called geniuses. But these people seemed to have ambiguous relationships with Dustless. Claire naturally didn't need to be mentioned. She had always treated Dustless as her exclusive property. If anyone else dared to touch him, she would turn hostile. Even her only friend, Linslet, was no exception. And Linslet was the same. As a noble lady, she actually often sent food to Dustless to eat. Sometimes she even cooked personally. Although the food she cooked was hard to swallow, anyone could tell that Linslet also had feelings for Dustless. Although Alice was a bit of an exception, she was very curious about Dustless. Once a woman was curious about a man, she was close to falling for him. Furthermore, the pure flames emitting from his body had clearly been contaminated and carried a dark red evil light. This color was the same as the wild elf Celestia had given Claire. Aoo aoo. Aoo. Scarlet's sharp roar was filled with endless killing intent. The flames burning all over his body became even more intense. The enemy he was targeting was actually Claire. Plop. Perhaps it was her first time seeing such a scene, but Claire was so frightened that she fell to the ground. Soon after, 2 clear lines of tears slowly flowed down, wetting Claire's little face. Scarlet. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have participated in this competition. You've become like this. Claire's nose was sore and tears flowed like pear blossoms. No matter how innocent she was, she knew that this was the doing of the wild elf Celestia had given her. Oh whoa. However, Scarlet clearly didn't want to listen to Claire's explanation. His huge body leapt up and opened his terrifying mouth full of sharp teeth to bite her. Not to mention the frail Claire, even steel would deform after being bitten by such a large mouth, leaving a few horrifying teeth marks. Ah! So you really did participate in this competition behind my back. What a troublesome little girl, a lazy, unrestrained voice suddenly sounded, deep and magnetic. Although it sounded unreliable and lazy, in Claire's eyes, it was great joy. Dustless. Turning her head, Claire found that it was indeed this face that she loved and hated. Despicable guy. Why did he have to appear at this time? Was he purposely waiting for a handsome opportunity to appear? The moment Dustless appeared, Celestia's smiling face suddenly froze. She glared at that gentle face unhappily, feeling like a thorn in her side. Scarlet went berserk. It's all because I listened to that bad woman. Am I stupid? I was fooled by her words. Ignoring the situation, Claire threw herself into Dustless's arms and burst into tears. At this moment, she just wanted to find someone to vent her grievances to. If you're wrong, you should correct it. If you're not, you should try harder. It's just a small matter. Also, who said that Scarlet went berserk? No, don't worry, Scarlet was just emotional. He'll still listen to me. Dustless softly comforted Claire as he rubbed her little head. Listen to you? What nonsense. Celestia, however, snorted disdainfully and muttered to herself, a contracted elf that has been corrupted by a mad elf already doesn't recognize anyone. He even dares to attack his master, let alone an outsider like you who has nothing to do with him. He's just asking for humiliation. However, Celestia didn't speak for long before she was slapped in the face. Walking in front of Scarlet, Dustless said softly, "Sit down." Plop. Then, under the gaze of countless pairs of eyes, the berserk Scarlet sat down obediently and became the gentle kitten from before. In front of my eye power, all contracted elves are pets. You want to lure me out? Dream on. There's still a long way to go. You have so many women. There are countless loopholes. After taking a deep look at Dustless, Celestia disappeared. That woman can't be a ninja turtle, right? She's so tolerant. Wuchen frowned slightly. When he realized that Restia did not appear, he shook his head in disappointment. His words just now were meant to provoke Restia. His purpose was to make Restia come out. Who would have thought that this woman's patience was stronger than he imagined? Oh whoa. At this moment, Scarlet let out a loud cry. A dark red ball of light flew out of its body. Berserk elf. Celestia looked at the sky and answered seriously. It's this thing. That bad woman gave it to me. Claire clenched her teeth. At this moment, Scarlet had also returned to his original appearance, but he was lying on the ground half dead. His shiny fur was also dim, like withered weeds. It was obvious that the rampage just now had taken a toll on his physical strength, resulting in him fainting. Disappear, brother. Dustless blinked lightly. The evil ball of light was immediately wrapped in a black flame. Amaterasu. In the blink of an eye, the black, ominous flame swallowed the berserk elf's body. Not even a trace of him was left. Go back, Claire. Remember this lesson. Dustless glanced at Claire and saw her hugging Scarlet sadly. Your talent is not bad. It's only a matter of time before you become stronger. Don't borrow the strength of others. If you want to become strong, there are no shortcuts. I understand. Claire nodded her head resolutely. She hugged Scarlet tightly, not letting go. It's all settled. Alice, who had led the knights over, was stunned when she saw Dustless and Claire leaving the arena. Isn't this too fast? I don't have time to waste on other things. Dustless shrugged. Of course, this kind of small trouble should be solved quickly. Could it be delayed for a few more hours? That's right. It's fine if Celestia doesn't come out. But, an eye for an eye. As the saying goes, revenge doesn't wait overnight. Dustless laughed evilly. If he was schemed against, he had to pay it back 100 times. Otherwise, wouldn't he have suffered a great loss? Celestia could scheme against Claire, so why couldn't Dustless scheme against Godfengzhao? This was very fair. Moreover, he could take the opportunity to stir up conflict between Godfengzhao and Celestia. P.S. 3,000 flowers as a reward, 3,000 flowers as a bonus, 1,000 comments as a bonus, 500 automatic subscriptions as a bonus. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Dustless's words kept echoing in his mind. Everything was caused by Restia. Lysia, why did you do this? You clearly knew that you were going to find trouble with Dustless. Although you could run, that madman would definitely come to find me. Aren't you harming me? It's all because of you that I'm being tortured, Lysia. Godfengzhao muttered, and there was a trace of resentment in his tone. That foolish brat, he took the bait so easily. TSK, what a waste of my feelings. To think that I prepared so many procedures. I didn't expect that God Fengzhou would have a gap with Lizia because of this matter. It seems like I'm overthinking. Perhaps their feelings aren't as firm as I thought. Dustless smirked in his heart. In fact, he hoped that God Fengzhou would hate Lizia and understand that the reason why he was being tortured was all because of Lizia. Just as Dustless thought, God Fengzhou also thought in this direction. Indeed, the heavens would not let down those who were willing. In fact, the feelings between Lizia and God Fengzhou were no longer as firm as imagined. Firstly, they hadn't seen each other for a few years, and time could dilute everything. Secondly, the most fatal thing was that a while ago, Dustless humiliated God Fengzhou in front of countless people, and the indirect reason was Lizia. At that time, Lizia didn't care about God Fengzhou's obstruction and kissed Dustless in front of everyone, and God Fengzhou almost collapsed. It's almost time. It's time to serve the main course. Dustless's lips curled up slightly, like a fox about to hunt, very cunning. What do you want? The sharp pain suddenly stopped, and God Fengzhou was overjoyed. The moment he raised his head, his smile froze because Dustless was looking at him with a playful gaze. Nothing much, just obediently become my slave. Dustless revealed his demonic Sharingan, and the ruby-like radiance was mysterious and noble, causing God Fengzhou to be absent-minded. Don't look. Sensing the terror of this pair of eyes, God Fengzhou quickly withdrew his eyes and looked at Dustless. He felt that he was about to sink into it, and his thoughts could be annihilated at any time. Still want to resist? Too naive, even Lizia couldn't resist my eye power, let alone you. Dustless's face was full of disdain, and then he suddenly grabbed God Fengzhou's head. Their eyes met, and his eye power was activated. Obediently obey my orders, God Fengzhou. With a slight blink of his eyes, the majestic spiritual power replaced God Fengzhou's thoughts and occupied his mind. Dustless's purpose is actually quite simple, to use the Sharingan to change God Fengzhou's thoughts and world, making God Fengzhou think that other people are dustless. The male lead is ready, we can go now, this time there will be a good show to watch. As soon as his voice fell, Dustless and God Fengzhou disappeared, and the direction they are heading is Grievous's house. What did you call me? Grievous's pretty face turned black, and her cleavage trembled in anger. She almost jumped out of her pajamas. Her beautiful eyes were spitting fire, and her fists were clenched so tightly that creaking sounds could be heard. Old Virgin. Using this title to call Grievous's, wasn't he tired of living? It was equivalent to declaring war on the death god. Old Virgin, didn't you hear me? Do you need me to call you 10 more times? The Fengzhou celestial being controlled by Dustless grinned, revealing its white teeth. With a crazy and arrogant look, it said, Why are you glaring at me? Do you think I'm afraid because you're a tigress? Do you think I'm afraid of you because you're a 1,000-year-old virgin? Grievous's face flushed red, and she almost fainted from anger. She forcefully suppressed the boiling killing intent and said in a hoarse voice, You're a student, and you've suffered enough blows from Dustless these days. I know you're mentally unstable, and I can understand. Now, take back what you just said. I won't lower myself to your level, and I can also treat tonight's matter as if it didn't happen. It had to be said that if it were someone else, Grievous's might have already killed the other party. However, the Fengzhou Celestial was different. A few years ago, the Fengzhou Celestial tried to assassinate her, but unfortunately, she was easily defeated by Grievous's. Furthermore, she worked as a maid in Grievous's house for a few years, and during this period, she taught the Fengzhou Celestial a lot of swordsmanship. It was because of the accumulation of strength that the Fengzhou Celestial was able to disguise as Liena Subble and participate in the Elven Sword Dance Festival to become the champion and obtain the title of the strongest sword dancer. To a certain extent, the Fengzhou Celestial was Grievous's disciple, which was why this kid received a lot of special treatment. However, the Fengzhou celestial being was controlled by dustless at this moment, so these words were destined to be bullshit. Old virgin, why are you wasting my time? If you're afraid of me, then say it. Come, take off your clothes and dance for me. At the same time, give me a smile. Don't look like I'm the one who raped you. If you really can't do it, I'll give you a smile. As soon as his voice fell, the Fengzhou celestial being controlled by dustless revealed a charming smile. Fengzhou celestial being. You. Go. Die. Gruas was furious. After being ridiculed by dustless time and time again, even a clay figurine would vomit blood from anger, not to mention Gruas, who was the dean with a high position and authority. Boom boom boom. A powerful divine aura erupted from Gruas. This scale and range was stronger than anyone dustless had ever seen. Compared to Gruas, Claire, Linslet, and Alice were all weak. This woman. Hee, the fish has taken the bait. Dustless laughed in the dark. He didn't expect Gruas to be so easily fooled. Actually, if one listened carefully, they would be able to tell that those words didn't sound like it was said by the Fengzhou celestial being. However, Gruas was really angry at this moment, so she didn't analyze it. Anyway, it was the Fengzhou celestial being who said it. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 evaluation votes plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 22:14. Brat, it's useless even if you regret it now. I will make you unforgettable for the price of those words. I will make you regret living in this world. Grievous's tone was extremely cold. Every time she spoke, the house would tremble slightly. It was obvious that Grievous was really angry. Being scolded left and right as an old spinster, anyone would be enraged, let alone Grievous. Tisk, do you think your daddy Fengzhou is scared? Do you think I'm that easy to bully? Fengzhou, who was controlled by dustless, glared at Grievous without any fear. He stared at her body and said, with your lousy body, I would despise you even if you were to be thrown to me. Other than having a bigger chest, what else is special about you? With your bad temper, your dowry is the entire Alicia Academy. I have to consider it. Furthermore, you can't be my legal wife. You can only be my little concubine. Any woman, even a saintess who had no emotions, would definitely fly into a rage after hearing Dustless's words. They would try their best to kill Dustless. But at this moment, Grievous was incomparably calm as she looked at Fengzhou with suspicion. That's not right. My impression of Fengzhou isn't this crude. Although that guy is dissatisfied with me, he wouldn't dare to speak to me like that. This tone, it's more like Dustless. Thinking of this, Grievous looked at Fengzhou with piercingly cold eyes. Her clear eyes seemed to be able to see through Fengzhou. This is bad. Seeing this, Dustless, who was secretly controlling Fengzhou, had a slight change in expression. He cursed in his heart, oh no, I went too deep and forgot about the important matter. But, immediately after, Dustless smiled confidently and controlled Fengzhou to continue speaking, you old witch, do you still remember what you did to me? That damned old virgin actually wanted me to be your maid. I've always remembered this matter in my heart. Fengzhou. Deity, Grievous bit out every word. He was still doubtful before, but now he was sure that the guy in front of him was God Fengzhou. There was only one person in the world who knew that God Fengzhou used to be his maid, and that was God Fengzhou herself. Luckily, I was quick-witted and almost exposed myself. Seeing that Grievous had regained her cold demeanor, Dustless secretly heaved a sigh of relief. With your current strength, you want to challenge me? Grievous sneered and said in disdain, even the previous Liena Subble was not my opponent, let alone the current you. What is your courage to challenge me? What is it? The Fengzhou celestial being controlled by Wuchen retorted sarcastically, there's no reason. You just have to find a reason. Old virgin, I don't like you, okay? I feel that once my wings have hardened, I can break your arm. Is this reason enough? Grievous almost fainted from the blow. Since when did that seemingly shy god Feng Zhao become so eloquent? Ding! Chapter 22:15. About 10 minutes later, Grievous's room was quiet. Alice and the other members of the Knight stood behind Grievous like javelins, while Grievous herself was like a queen surrounded by the ladies. On the ground in front of her, there was a miserable figure crawling on the ground. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen. He was breathing weakly and his face had turned green. His turbid eyes were filled with despair towards the future. It was as though he had been defiled by some evil person. His expression was one of despair. Principal. Alice's face was slightly hot. Looking at the half-dead god Feng Zhao, she blamed herself. Although she didn't have a good impression of this guy, she couldn't help but feel a little guilty for beating him up to such a state. The few of you, members of the Knights, have really disappointed me. After a moment of silence, Grievous said something shocking. She said in an indignant tone, "You have been beating him up for more than 10 minutes. They are all superficial wounds. You didn't even break a single bone of this guy. Are you guys slacking off?" Principal, these words not only made the members of the Knight Regiment speechless, but the victim, god Feng Zhao, also opened his eyes, which were several times larger than Tong Ling's, and roared angrily, "Damned old witch, you hit me for no reason, and you still dare to, bang." Who would have thought that before god Feng Zhao could finish his words, Grievous would glance at him coldly and kick his face without any trace of politeness. Caw caw caw. Following a few crisp sounds, god Feng Zhao suddenly felt a sharp pain in his mouth. He touched it and not only was it swollen, a few of his teeth were also broken. "You are so heartless." God Feng Zhao glared angrily and cursed Grievous thousands of times in his heart. Heartless. Grievous almost jumped up when she heard this. She took a few deep breaths and cursed god Feng Zhao's 18 generations of ancestors. "Why didn't you show any mercy when you scolded me just now?" Grievous clenched her fists tightly. She saw god Feng Zhao's blank expression as though everything had nothing to do with him. She sneered and said, "Do you need me to remind you? God Feng Zhao. Didn't you just call me an old virgin? You even said that I could only be a little wife even if I gave up the entire Alicia Academy." This, Alice and the other members of the Knight Corps were all stunned. They bit their lips, and their shoulders trembled. They wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. Old virgin. This god Feng Zhao is indeed the reincarnation of a pervert. His ability to scold people is truly amazing. The members of the Knight Corps all looked at god Feng Zhao with admiration. You dare to talk about the dean like that? Even if you had 100 lives, it wouldn't be enough. Serves him right. The dean is right. We were too lenient. Alice shouted coldly. Originally, she was still feeling guilty for beating up god Feng Zhao for no reason. Chapter 22:17. A clear conscience. In the eyes of others, this reason might be laughable, but for some reason, Priscilla's heart trembled, and she suddenly fell silent. She suddenly realized that her vision in the past seemed to be a little narrow. Living in the world, one didn't necessarily have to pursue the supreme position of king. Just as Wu Qin had said, one just had to have a clear conscience about some things, and it was enough to live one's own wonderful life. Moreover, since ancient times, emperors had always been alone, and their lives might end up in a dead end. Sometimes, giving up some things might be a little painful at the time, but there was always a gain, and in the future, there would always be more rewards. Also, Amelia's face suddenly appeared in his mind, and Dustless said softly, "I have to admit, although Amelia is sometimes a little childish and naive, she has a persevering heart." I believe that there will be a day when she succeeds. In short, as long as she doesn't leave me, I won't abandon her. As for the identity of a fairy, it's really laughable. If those people who despise Amelia know about my past, they will probably think that the so-called witch of jealousy is a kind rabbit, too gentle. Dustless said as if he was joking and serious. Others might scoff at these words, but it was an undeniable fact. After all, when Dustless was not very strong, he often used infinite tsukimi to punish a large world, treating everyone as nourishment for his strength, and not letting any living creature go. Compared to Dustless, what was a mere witch of jealousy? In that case, I respect your choice. After a moment of silence, Priscilla smiled and said generously, if you need my help in the future, feel free to come to me. Then, without caring about Dustless's thoughts, she skipped away. This woman, don't tell me that some nerve in her brain is broken. But it's good that you can get over it. Dustless had a strange expression. The girl in front of him changed too quickly, so much so that he was in a daze. Thud, 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 thud. At this moment, Dustless suddenly heard the sound of footsteps behind him. He turned around and saw a beautiful white figure hugging him from behind. Amelia. Dustless looked at the white figure in astonishment. He lowered his head and saw that the person hugging him tightly was the weeping Amelia. What kind of good news is it? Why are you so excited? Dustless scratched Amelia's nose. He wasn't used to being hugged so tightly by her. His waist felt like it was going to break. I didn't mean to eavesdrop on your conversation, but I heard everything you said just now. Amelia's face was filled with excitement as she rubbed her cheeks against Dustless's chest. Blushing, she said, from now on, you're my family, okay? Family. Hearing this, Dustless's face was indescribably strange, and he immediately waved his hand and said, let's talk about this kind of trivial matter later. Where did Roswell go? This is not a small matter. This is the most important matter. But Amelia stubbornly shook her head and seriously repeated, this is even more important than the royal selection. All along, the only person who accompanied Amelia was Parker. Now that there was one more person, Dustless, she was very excited. What an innocent little girl. Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry about this. He just touched Amelia's head and nodded in approval. If they're a family, then so be it. Dustless didn't care. Anyway, in the future, Amelia wouldn't cause other people to starve to death. I suddenly feel that I'm no longer a person abandoned and hated by this world. Amelia hugged Dustless tightly and rubbed her face against him again and again. She even wished that she could integrate Dustless into her body. Slap. I'm such AF * king idiot. On the other side, Kai Yuamao, who was dazzled by the scene, was so angry that he cursed. He wanted to cry but had no tears. He slapped himself so hard that it bled. Kai Yuamao grimaced in pain. He originally wanted to catch Amelia in the act, but who knew that his actions would directly give Amelia to Dustless. Looking at Amelia's blissful face, Kai Yuamao wanted to kill himself. This was really shooting himself in the foot. Even his heart was smashed into pieces. Damn Dustless. This guy wouldn't be doing it on purpose, right? Kai Yuamao's face was gloomy. He was a little tempted by Priscilla's offer. After all, as she said, people lived for beautiful women, money, and power. In the face of these conditions, no one could be at ease. At least, Kai Yuamao was sure that he would be tempted by such a generous offer. But Dustless was like a rock. He didn't take the bait at all. No matter what the offer was, he wouldn't be moved. He didn't even blink. Brat, you won't die if you don't ask for it. You asked for it this time. I wasn't interested in Amelia, but you pushed her to me. TSK. What a good guy. Dustless glanced at the miserable Kai Yuamao and secretly scolded him for being an idiot. He asked for it. Help to clean the house, clean the carriage, and pick up girls. Anne. Kai Yue Mao, I suddenly feel that you are not as annoying as before. Maybe people like you are born to serve as a foil to me. Wu Chen's words entered Kai Yue Mao's ears. Only Kai Yue Mao could hear it clearly due to the special treatment. Plop. Kai Yue Mao couldn't take the blow anymore. He rolled his eyes and fainted. All his efforts were for dustless. How could he not be angry? Especially dustless's "I want to thank you" expression, which made Kai Yue Mao's heart beat faster. In the end, he couldn't withstand a single blow and fainted. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 22:18. Although this episode was a huge blow to Kaituki Subaru, the relationship between Dustless and Amelia had improved because of him. This was all thanks to the great philanthropist Kaituki Subaru. If it weren't for him, it wouldn't have been so smooth. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, a few hours had passed. The King's selection feast was about to begin. The most obvious thing was that the city was heavily guarded. The big shots, as well as many knights, had all appeared. Even powerful knights such as Reinhardt were included. Roswald, who had disappeared before, finally appeared, and his request was very simple. Amelia and Dustless went to the palace together to participate in this unique feast. Why don't I have a share? Kaituki Subaru, who had just woken up, was very angry. He found that he had completely become a foil, especially at this critical moment. Not to mention being a foil to Dustless, he didn't even have the qualifications to participate. This was blatant disdain. Boy, don't you understand? You are a groom, do you understand? Pointing to the earth dragon outside the window, Dustless smiled and handed Kaituki Subaru a bag. Regardless of his livid face, he smiled kindly and said, "Well, I'll give it to you. After all, the Earth Dragon is our means of transportation. You can't lose it, it's much more useful than you." Kaituki Subaru's face turned green when he heard this. He only felt that there was a stuffy breath in his lungs. He was in a bad state and felt that he was about to explode. What made Kaituki Subaru most angry was that this bastard actually compared him with an animal. What was worse was that this bastard devalued him to the point that he was not even as good as an animal. But facing Wu Qin, Kaituki Subaru was helpless. Not only was she inferior to him in terms of strength and skills, but she was also inferior to him in terms of wisdom. Wu Qin even wanted to gain something without risking anything. Amelia took the initiative to throw herself into his arms. Every time he thought that because of his own calculation, Amelia took the initiative to throw herself into Dustless's arms, and her cheeks rubbed against Dustless's arms, Kaituki Subaru had a constipated expression and wanted to slap himself a few times. Rosval, in desperation, Kaitsuki Subaru could only look at Rosval for help, longing for the warmth this guy gave him, giving him a little hope so that his dreams would not always be shattered. "I'm sorry, Lord Pleiades." Roswald, who was regarded as a light of hope, shook his head. Although he sympathized with Kaitsuki Subaru's current situation, he couldn't help her. He showed a helpless expression and said, "You are just a servant. If I take you to participate in the king's selection, I will only bring shame to Lady Amelia. But Dustless, that bastard, is also a servant." Kaituki Subaru roared unwillingly with red eyes. Chapter 22:19. After this kid fainted again, no one cared about him. Only Amelia, who couldn't stand it, took good care of him. After all, they were acquaintances. After settling the trivial matters of Kaituki Subaru, Dustless and the rest slowly left and rushed to the heavily guarded palace. The king's selection was imminent. At this moment, the palace was completely surrounded by knights. Members of the Night Order were everywhere in the palace. Every one of them was as straight as a javelin. The security is very tight. Dustless looked around. Along the way, almost all the places were guarded. Everyone's expression was meticulous and strict. After all, this is the interior of the palace. The security is definitely tighter. This is related to the reputation of the kingdom. Now that it is the king's selection, I heard that all the members of the Night Order are here. Roswald explained and looked at Dustless with a hint of warning. He slowly said, "Take note, there are many experts today. Don't mess around." Roswald understood Dustless's temper. If anyone were to provoke him, he would definitely not give them any face. He would definitely turn the world upside down and Amelia would definitely be implicated. He was still counting on Amelia to slay the dragon after obtaining the throne. What would he do if Dustless messed up his plans? "You are making me sound like an ignorant child." Dustless couldn't help but roll his eyes. He was too lazy to bother with Roswald. He walked straight ahead and saw a huge stone door in front of him. It was engraved with a magnificent pattern and there were a few knights standing beside it. "Is that Lady Amelia?" Amelia's appearance was too eye-catching. She was the only silver-haired half-fairy in the entire kingdom. The knights guarding the door didn't ask much. They immediately opened the stone door and allowed Amelia and the rest to pass through. Creak. The heavy stone door was slowly pushed open and a ray of bright golden light shone through. It was as though they had arrived at another world. After passing through the door, a huge hall came into view. It was filled with people. The Night Order and civil officials were standing in different positions. Amelia's appearance instantly attracted everyone's attention. "Is this Lady Amelia?" As expected, he came to participate in the king's selection. I heard that it was Border Warlord who recommended him to participate in the royal selection. Who's the man behind him? I don't think I've seen it before. Clearly, Amelia was quite famous. Many people were looking at her in surprise, their eyes darting from side to side as if they wanted to see through her. Amelia was clearly a little nervous in the face of countless gazes. She instinctively took a step back, and her heel just happened to step on Dustless behind her. "Amelia, remember, this is your stage today. There's no need to be nervous." Dustless, Kuan, look. Esther suddenly pointed at the entrance of Alicia Academy. Dustless also looked over and saw Dean Gravasse standing in front of a carriage. Gravasse is welcoming him personally. Who's putting on such airs? This is interesting. Out of curiosity, Dustless also walked over. Since he had nothing to do, he might as well join in the fun and kill some time. Oh right. Could it be that the little girl is here? If I think about it carefully, it should be around this time. And she's here for God Fengzhou. Dustless lowered his head and pondered. An exquisite-looking girl appeared in his mind. She had a head of beautiful purple hair and an extremely majestic cleavage. She was not inferior to Gravasse at all. Moreover, she had a noble and refined temperament, like a beautiful budding flower. This person was Fianna Leoldija. "Dean, long time no see. How are you?" A pleasant voice came from the front. Dustless also subconsciously raised his head. As expected, he guessed correctly. A girl with long purple hair personally greeted Gravasse. "Princess, you're too polite." Gravasse just nodded slightly. When she was about to speak, she suddenly saw Dustless leisurely walking over. She immediately frowned and pondered. "This kid is here again. I hope he won't cause trouble for me." "Princess, Fianna's eyes dimmed a little. A bitter smile flashed across her eyes. This title was too sarcastic to her. After all, it was all in the past. "Dean, I heard that a male elf called God Fengzhou came to the academy a few days ago. Can you bring me to see him?" Fianna was indeed someone who had an affair with God Fengzhou. She immediately thought of the young man that she had been thinking about day and night. For a moment, she was a little absent-minded, as if she was thinking of the past. A gentle smile appeared on her face. This is so unfair. That brat, where did his charm come from to make people fall for him? It's all the main character aura. Dustless, who had rushed over, was speechless. Of all things to hear, why did she have to hear about that brat's romantic debt? Miss, you might not know. That God Fengzhou is simply a scum, a pervert, and a pervert. Without waiting for Grivace to explain, Dustless directly opened his mouth and used all the words that Claire used to scold him. He raised his voice and said, that little tortoise called God Fengzhou did all kinds of bad things and was extremely shameless. In the end, he was expelled because he scolded Dean. Little tortoise. Hearing Dustless calling God Fengzhou that, Grivace didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She caught the evil smile in his eyes and could only silently mourn for God Fengzhou in her heart. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. I can see it now. You even dare to lay your hands on such a young girl. What a scumbag. Looking at Estelle who was beside Dustless, Fianna loudly mocked. Ha! Dustless was confused. He followed Fianna's gaze and looked at Estelle. He was speechless. People say that girls with big breasts have no brains. I didn't believe it before, but now I do. All the nutrients in your brain have grown to your breasts. No wonder you're so stupid. Sigh. Pfft. Even with Headmistress Grose's temperament, she couldn't help but laugh out loud. She rolled her eyes at Dustless, clearly implying that he was so good at teasing others. Where did he learn this from? You, this bastard. Fianna was angry. Her little face was red from Dustless's words. Even her breathing became heavy. All right, let's stop here. Follow me to the academy first. We'll talk about other things later, Grievous said softly. It would be a tragedy if they fought here. Tisk, Dustless curled his lips. He naturally understood that Grievous was giving Fianna a way out. Let's wait and see. I'll make sure you never forget me. Fianna took a deep look at Dustless. It was as if she wanted to remember this face forever. There's no need for the future. If you have time, you can come to my dorm now. I guarantee that you'll hate me for the rest of your life. Dustless was afraid that Fianna couldn't understand what he meant. The veins on Fianna's forehead bulged. If Grievous didn't pull her away, she would have flipped out on the spot. This bastard was too arrogant. It was the first time in her life that someone dared to ridicule her so unscrupulously. Dustless, Kuin will definitely find trouble with her again, Estelle said thoughtfully. Why? Dustless glanced at Estelle and asked with a smile. You can't bear to look at anything that's related to Fengzhou's celestial being. This is a common occurrence, Esther said seriously, as if he was used to it. Is that so? Dustless stopped in his tracks. He touched his chin thoughtfully and then nodded slightly. It seemed like that was indeed the case. That's right, I remember Claire mentioned that the team needed 5 people. Why don't we pull this proud princess in? Dustless's lips curled up slightly, looking extremely evil. Why did you choose her? Estelle asked with a frown. It's simple. It's because this girl has feelings for Fengzhou. I want her to join the team and torture Fengzhou together. Lovers becoming enemies. This is really interesting. Dustless smiled evilly. That makes sense. Estelle nodded innocently. Unknowingly, she had been led astray by Dustless. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. But now that you asked me to kill them, I won't do it. Hearing this, Kaito Subaru was confused and asked, "Why is that?" "Why?" "There's no reason. I don't know what you're planning, but you're always scheming against me. If I kill them, you might come up with some bad idea." Dustless Subaru explained softly, and then he said, "Anyway, if you want me to kill them, then they have to live. If you want me to go east, then I have to go west. You're really..." Kaito Subaru's face darkened. He didn't expect Dustless Subaru to be so cautious. "Humph. If you don't do it, then I'll force you. Don't think I'm afraid of you. I won't even blink if you kill me." After countless reincarnations, Kaito Subaru was numb. Death was nothing to him. As long as he could trick Dustless Subaru once, he wouldn't mind even if he had to reincarnate 10 times. Dustless Subaru had killed him many times in the past reincarnations. Kaito Subaru was angry with Dustless. Even if Dustless didn't trouble him, Kaito Subaru would never let Dustless go. "Hey! I say, you bunch of idiots. How dare you mock Lady Amelia? Are you tired of living?" Kaito Subaru glared at Julius and the others without any fear. Anyway, he had nothing to lose. He didn't care if he angered these people and got himself killed. As long as he saw Dustless Subaru being beaten up, he would be satisfied even if he was killed once. After all, he could be resurrected. After all, Kaito Subaru had been defeated by Dustless countless times, and he hadn't made a comeback yet. Well. There are more and more arrogant guys these days. Julius's eyes were gloomy. Dustless Subaru was riding on his head. After all, Dustless had shown his strength just now. Even if he tried his best, he wouldn't be able to defeat him. But who was Kaito Subaru? How dare he provoke him? Did he really think that he was made of mud and could step on him whenever he wanted to? Is this idiot trying to make enemies for me? Dustless Subaru immediately understood Kaito Subaru's intention. He smiled and didn't say anything, waiting for this guy to make a fool of himself. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 22-23. So you're really weak. Since he was taller than Fianna, Dustless was looking down at her. Coupled with his contemptuous tone, he was like a frivolous young master. His tone was full of contempt and disdain. "You. Don't get carried away." Hearing Dustless's words, Fianna's pretty face turned deep red. She was extremely embarrassed. Her sneak attack had failed and she was caught alive. Especially when Alice, the leader of the Night Order, was watching silently from the side. Fianna had no way to defend herself. "Sigh, you're really weak." Dustless sighed again. "You stinking brat." The veins on Fianna's forehead bulged. "I know I'm weak, but do you have to say it twice? My ears aren't deaf." "Alice, you saw it too. This chick didn't try to assassinate me. How should I deal with her?" Dustless looked at Alice and then looked at Fianna with deep meaning. His expression was full of schadenfreude. "This. Of course it's a big problem." Alice also looked at Fianna with ridicule. She deliberately cleared her throat. "In a big way, this is nonsense. I just wanted to test this guy's strength." Without giving Alice a chance to speak, Fianna hurriedly said, "After all, participating in the Elven Sword Dance Festival requires great strength. I just wanted to test this guy's strength." "You tested my strength?" Hearing this, Dustless couldn't help but laugh. He felt that this was the most ridiculous joke. He asked again, then Miss Fianna, what did you test? Fianna was speechless at Dustless's question. She thought for a while and then smiled. You're very strong. I'm very satisfied with your strength, so I decided to join your team. Ha! This sudden change startled not only Claire and the other two girls, but also Dustless. He looked at Fianna with a slightly stunned expression. He could clearly see traces of nervousness in her eyes. Looks like this guy also joined on a whim. What's his motive? Dustless frowned slightly. While he was lost in his reverie, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his waist. Are you crazy? Why did you pinch me? Unhappily glaring at Claire, Dustless was about to reprimand her when he saw Linslet and Alice looking at him with dissatisfaction. That resentful gaze was clearly saying, you went out to attract bees and butterflies again. What does it have to do with me? This woman obviously joined suddenly. What does it have to do with me? Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There was nothing between him and Fianna. Moreover, this woman hated him greatly because of God Fengzhou. She was using all sorts of methods to take revenge on him. Now that she had suddenly joined in, there was definitely a problem. However, at this moment, Dustless suddenly felt a soft body. Her entire body was soft and emitted a strong fragrance. Dustless subconsciously pinched her. A soft moan suddenly sounded. Dustless was startled. He opened his eyes wide and looked over. Chapter 22-24. Everyone thought that the matter had come to an end, but it was not. Not long after Kaitsuko left the palace, he was surrounded by a large group of knights. Hey! What do you want? Are you trying to rebel? Don't forget that I am Amelia's servant. If you dare to hit me, Amelia will not let you go. Kaitsuka panicked when he saw the knights glaring at him. He was trying to make trouble for Dustless, not himself. To put it bluntly, Kaitsuka's previous actions were to make trouble for Dustless, but these cowardly knights did not seem to have the guts to make trouble for Dustless. Do you think I am easy to bully? Kaitsuka guessed in his heart. He looked up at Julius and asked, do you dare to fight me? Your crime is punishable by death, but since you are Amelia's servant, let's have a duel with wooden swords. How about that? When Julius said this, his face was full of mockery and disdain. He did not even try to hide the disdain and contempt in his eyes. Do you think I don't dare? Kaitsuka was angry. If he chickened out at this time, not only would Amelia look down on him, but he would also look down on himself first. I agree. Bang! Just as Katsuki Subaru was about to agree to Julius's request, a black shadow suddenly flashed and gently kicked Katsuki Subaru away. Boom! Kaitsuka's body crashed into the wall, and the solid wall cracked. Who the hell did this? How dare you sneak attack me? Is it you knights? Kaitsuka roared angrily. His voice was a little sharp because of anger. I did it. Why? Do you want to beat me? Dustless lazily flashed in front of Kaitsuka and narrowed his eyes. If you don't like me or even want to beat me up, I welcome you with open arms. It's a small world. Let's wait and see. Kaitsuka suddenly chickened out. He glared at Dustless fiercely and finally fell silent. After several rounds of reincarnation of death, Kaitsuka knew how powerful Dustless was. He could not even defeat Julius, let alone Dustless. Even if he was angry, he had to bow his head and admit defeat. What do you mean? It is very rude to disturb a duel between me and someone else. Julius frowned and looked at Wu Qin. His face was full of hostility. He insulted all of us. We must make this guy pay the price. I'm not interested in your grudges. Even if this kid is dead or alive, it has nothing to do with me. But... Dustless paused for a while and then said helplessly, this kid is in Amelia's camp after all. You beat him up and made him lose control of his bladder. Amelia is the one who lost face. Dustless's meaning was self-evident. Everyone could understand what he meant. After all, Kaitsuka was beaten up, and as the host, Amelia must be disgraced as well. You have to look at the owner before beating a dog. I can't turn a blind eye. Dustless's tone was lazy, but Julius and the others' faces changed slightly. His words were full of warning. You have to look at the owner before beating a dog. Kaitsuka's face darkened. The dog Dustless was talking about was him. He thought angrily, he is scolding me in another way. If you want to continue to challenge him, how about this? Dustless saw that Julius was persistent, so he stood in front of him and said indifferently, you can fight with me. I will stand still. If you can defeat me within 3 moves, I will apologize. How about that? And you can do whatever you want with me. Stand still. Julius and the others were stunned when they heard that. The so-called standing still meant that they did not take any counterattack and just stood there to be attacked by Julius. Julius' face turned ashen when he came back to his senses. He felt that he had been looked down upon. This was blatant disdain and contempt. The flames that had accumulated in his heart exploded. Do you think that you can defeat me by standing still? No, this needs to be corrected. Dustless shook his head and said calmly, people like you are not qualified to fight with me, but you have to challenge Kaitsuka. I can only reluctantly stand up and let you have 3 moves. To be honest, Dustless did not intend to duel with Julius. This guy was too weak, but he had to challenge Kaitsuka. No matter what, he was on Amelia's side. If he lost, it would be a disgrace to his master. I don't mean to look down on you. Dustless found that everyone in the night regiment was looking at him angrily. The fire in their eyes was enough to melt the city wall. He said indifferently, I am just stating a fact. It is not too late to turn back now. At least you didn't lose, and it won't be so embarrassing. However, Dustless's words were fine. The moment he finished speaking, Julius agreed immediately. He was still alive. If he lowered his head now, he would never be able to raise his head again. Stand still. Is this guy going to be killed now? Everyone looked at Dustless mockingly. It was like an adult fighting with a child. If the adult stood still and let the child hit him, he could easily be killed. Hee, arrogant guy. You better be killed by Julius. Then, no one can stop me. Kaitsuka was very excited. He did not have the slightest gratitude. When Dustless said, look at the master before beating the dog, Kaitsuka wanted to swallow Dustless alive. If he was killed, Kaitsuka would definitely hold a party to celebrate. He believed that with his own ability, he could also make Amelia a king. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 22-25. Kaius Subaru's heart was full of joy. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many people and the situation wasn't suitable, he might have jumped up and clapped his hands. These days, he had been oppressed by Dustless, but he couldn't fight back. It was extremely difficult for him, as if he was walking on thin ice. This guy is too arrogant. He actually stood still and let Julius attack him. Does he think he is invincible? Kaius Subaru muttered to himself. After several reincarnations, he had some understanding of Julius's strength. He was very powerful. He believed that if Dustless stood still and didn't fight back, he would definitely be beaten up badly. I'll take Amelia with me to see how miserable you are after being beaten up. Who told you to show off? Kaius Subaru calculated in his heart, and a smug smile appeared on his face. In the huge martial arts field, the surrounding audience shouted passionately and cheered for Julius. Their voices were so loud that the ears of those who were 100 meters away were numb. In the center of the field, Julius held a sharp sword. His eyes were like torches. Almost all the knights were circling around him. He was as dazzling as the stars around the moon, as if the whole world revolved around him. As for Dustless, he was abandoned. Even if someone looked at him a few times, their face was full of ridicule. What nonsense! An angry voice could be heard from the spectators' seats. Hee hee. Yes, Dustless is too much of a troublemaker. Kaiue Subaru immediately nodded. As a traveler from another world, he was also a wily old fox. He had studied the way of picking up girls very deeply. When a girl was angry about something, he would definitely speak ill of the other party with her. I'm talking about Julius. Amelia glanced at Kaiue Subaru angrily and said indignantly, Dustless is bare-handed, but he is using the sword that he is best at. Even if he wins, it is an unfair victory. So you are fighting for Dustless. Kaiue Subaru was very depressed, as if he had eaten a fly. His expression was very interesting. He had thought that he would be able to have a good time criticizing Dustless with Amelia, but who would have thought that she would be complaining about Julius? Cough, cough, cough. Amelia, there's something you might not know. It was Dustless who requested to fight Julius with his bare hands. It has nothing to do with Julius. Keiichi Subaru explained and added, Dustless is too arrogant. If he loses, Amelia, you will lose all your face. You've misunderstood. Glancing coldly at Keitsuki Subaru, Amelia said in a serious tone, I'm actually not that interested in the throne, especially in the previous election. I can already see that everyone is rejecting me, even disgusted. I'm afraid that even if I take the throne, those people will only pretend to obey me but secretly oppose me. Soon after, Amelia gave a self-mocking smile that was filled with endless bitterness and bleakness. After which, she seemed to have thought of something and said with happiness, but Dustless didn't hate me because of this, he even stood up for me. Of course I don't want him to get hurt. It would have been better if she didn't say anything. The moment she finished speaking, Keiichi Subaru's face suddenly looked constipated. She muttered in her heart, I also support you, but why don't I see you care about me? Are you saying that Dustless is too handsome and has the aura to attract the female lead? Keiichi Subaru was speechless. She kept cursing Dustless in her heart to vent her displeasure. When she saw Amelia's happy smile, she finally realized that her role as the main character had been snatched away. Bring it on. Don't waste my time. On the other side, Dustless's fingers were twitching, and he looked impatient. I hope you can still be so calm later. Julius squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. He stared at Dustless fiercely, holding his sword with one hand. Even though his body didn't move, an invincible aura had faintly rushed into the sky. This kid is finished. Yes, who does he think Julius is? How dare he humiliate him like this? He is destined to pay the price. Let's see this kid get split into several halves. His opponent is Julius, and he still dares to fight with his bare hands. Who does he think he is? Even the sword saint of the Astria family is not as arrogant as him. Does he think he is made of iron and can withstand the attack of Julius? Some knights who were very optimistic about Julius were full of ridicule. They looked at Dustless with disdain, full of ridicule and contempt. In their opinion, Dustless was doomed, and there was no way to save the situation. However, only one person remained cautious. He always felt that Julius wouldn't win so easily. This person was Reinhardt. He had almost had a conflict with Dustless before, so he knew him quite well. In his impression, Dustless was not the kind of person who liked to shoot without thinking. His calmness obviously didn't seem to be an act. Swish. 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 At the same time, Julius made his move. His body turned into a gust of wind and pounced on Dustless as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, he crossed layers of space and arrived in front of Dustless. Pfft. And the blade that radiated a cold light pierced Dustless's abdomen. He was killed in seconds. He's so weak. This guy is indeed a vase. Such a useless piece of trash dares to humiliate us. Are you kidding me? I really don't understand how such a weak person dares to stand up for others. Where did he get the courage? Seeing how Dustless couldn't withstand a single blow, the spectating knights couldn't help but sneer. This touch doesn't feel right. Why does it feel like he has slashed the air? I don't feel anything at all. On the other hand, Julius, who was close to Dustless, looked puzzled. The moment he lifted his head, Dustless came into view and suddenly laughed. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 22-26. A shameless person is invincible in the world, but a shameless tree will definitely die. In the past, Vienna didn't understand the meaning of this sentence. Now, she finally understood its true meaning. She suddenly realized that this sentence was a perfect match for Dustless. After living for more than 10 years, Vienna had seen all kinds of weirdos, but it was her first time encountering an invincible existence like Dustless. You think I'm shameless? That's right, I'm shameless. Dustless chuckled and said bluntly, I don't know if you've heard of the saying, good people don't live long, bad people live for 1,000 years. I just want to live forever, so being a bad person suits me. Vienna was speechless. Dustless had already said so, what else did she have to refute? After all, he admitted that he was shameless and didn't care about integrity. Don't wear down my patience. I'll increase it in a bit. Dustless stared at Vienna's naked body without restraint. His gaze swept around with deep meaning. He rubbed his chin and muttered to himself, it's just a kiss on the cheek. Am I too kind? After thinking for a while, he said, seems like it's better to choose somewhere else, such as, peck. At this moment, Dustless suddenly felt something peck on the right side of his face. He turned his head and saw Vienna with a face full of shame and indignation. This. You're fast enough. I didn't even have time to react. Dustless's face was full of depression. Soon after, he said with a very bitter tone, seems like you've been eyeing me covetously. Otherwise, why are you so familiar with it? When you dream. Do you often fantasize about me? Hearing this, Vienna almost fainted from anger. This stinking brat didn't play by the rules at all. In this world, if there was a shameless selection competition, Dustless could definitely take the top 3 spots. Sigh, looking at how hesitant you are, that's most likely the case. Actually, all you have to do is say something. After all, you're a princess, so it's not a bad idea for me to throw myself at you. Actually, living off a woman suits me quite well. Dustless stared at the furious Vienna and continued to tease her, anyway, I'll just suffer a little. You still feel wronged. Vienna's eyes widened. This bastard clearly profited from taking advantage of me, and now he's saying that I'm wronged. His skin must be thicker than the city walls. Calm down, I must be calm. I can't lose my composure and argue with a scumbag. Vienna bit her thin lips. The sharp pain cleared her mind. She took a few deep breaths and asked calmly, I've kissed you. Can we go now? Not yet. Dustless shook his head and said expressionlessly, I asked you to kiss my left cheek, but you sneakily attacked my right cheek. What you're doing is clearly against the rules. Although you can avoid the death penalty, you can't escape punishment. Now, your punishment is to massage my shoulders and legs. After it's done, you can have a French kiss with me, and then I'll let you go. Let's just die together. Fianna didn't say anything else. She directly picked up the fruit knife on the table and pounced. I really hate that brat, God Fengzhou. Dustless's words were filled with endless magic. The pouncing Fianna's body suddenly stiffened. What do you mean? Fianna frowned and looked coldly at Dustless. She asked suspiciously, why do I feel like there's more to your words? If you have something to say, just say it. Don't hide it. Perhaps she was numb from Dustless's attacks, but Fianna didn't have the demeanor of a princess anymore. If you want me to let you go, it's actually very simple. Dustless lay on the sofa and said lazily, as long as you promise me that you'll break off your relationship with God Fengzhou and never come into contact with him again, I'll let you go. I don't need you to massage my shoulders and legs, and you don't need to kiss me. How about that? Hearing this, Fianna felt frustrated. She asked angrily, could it be that you tease me like that just to take revenge on God Fengzhou? Of course. Don't tell me you think you're so beautiful that I can't extricate myself from it. Dustless turned his head and glanced at Fianna with disdain. He said uninterestedly, don't get too carried away. Although you're pretty good looking, I'm already immune to beautiful women. After living for a few hundred years, Dustless had seen all kinds of beautiful women. Although Fianna was pretty good, it wasn't enough to make Dustless unable to walk. Teasing her like that before was just to disgust God Fengzhou. Dustless couldn't help but daydream. When God Fengzhou found out that his close friend was teased by Dustless, and their relationship was like that of lovers, would he fly into a rage? How about it? What's your choice? Princess Fianna. Dustless locked onto Fianna, who was in a dilemma, and gently persuaded, people always change. That God Fengzhou has already been tricked into a lunatic by me. So for your future happiness, I advise you to break off your relationship with him. Break off my relationship with him, and then be entangled with you. Dream on. Fianna sneered disdainfully. Really, you think too highly of yourself. Dustless sighed. He really just wanted to tease Fianna. He didn't have any other intentions. He just wanted her to give up on God Fengzhou. He didn't expect her to be so tactless. So you're saying that you want to take advantage of me? Dustless had a strange look on his face. He teased again, come on, I'll treat it as if you took advantage of me for a night. Anyway, I won't lose anything. F***CKU. Fianna was furious. She almost couldn't hold back her vulgarities. I refuse your conditions. You want me to break off my relationship with God Fengzhou? Dream on. As soon as she finished speaking, Fianna threw caution to the wind and suddenly pounced over. Under Dustless's shocked gaze, this princess really turned into a female pervert and covered his mouth. Moreover, that little fragrant tongue also unscrupulously probed into Dustless's mouth. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 22-27. It was not difficult to see that this powerful attack was also covered with a powerful magic attack. Once Dustless was hit, it might cause secondary damage. If he was not careful, he would be burned alive. After all, Julius was known as the most excellent knight. This resounding nickname was not given casually. Whether it was magic or swordsmanship, it was not something that ordinary people could estimate. In terms of swordsmanship, only Reinhardt could match him. TSK, this kid is really finished. He doesn't know how to spell the word death. Looking at the whole kingdom, besides Reinhardt, who else can compete with Julius head-on? Sigh. If this guy dustless could work hard and not be so arrogant, maybe he could surpass Reinhardt and Julius in the future. Unfortunately, he is going to die now. Some knights sighed and cherished the talent. After all, in their opinion, Dustless's talent was unparalleled, and he seemed to have amazing attainments in healing magic. Such a person would definitely be able to make a name for himself in the future. Unfortunately, he had provoked someone he would never dare to provoke in his life. So what? There are many geniuses, but how many can stand at the top? This kid is arrogant and insulted our spirit of chivalry. He deserves to be killed. There were also knights who expressed disdain for Dustless. In their opinion, a rampant person like Dustless deserved to die. There was no mercy at all. Some people even looked at Dustless as if they were looking at a corpse. Ha 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 ha, well done. Seeing this scene, Kai Uezue laughed heartily for the first time. However, Amelia was beside him, so he was too embarrassed to laugh out loud. He could only hold it in. His expression was extremely strange, and he looked like he was enduring a lot of pain. Dustless, Kuan, Amelia clenched her fists. Julius's sword was too terrifying. Even from dozens of meters away, she could feel the mana in the atmosphere being sucked out and all of it rushing toward Julius. It was enough to see how heaven-defying the power of his sword was. Go to hell. Boom. 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 A terrifying halo erupted from the blade, and boundless flames surged out. Even the battlefield of the final battle was scorched black, and a strange smell filled the air. So strong. Dustless is definitely done for. Perceiving the horror of Julius's sword, everyone was horrified. Even a layman like Keiichi Subaru was stunned by this horrifying sword. He's definitely going to die, he's definitely going to die. Kai Ueru was overjoyed. If it weren't for the fact that Amelia was right beside her, she would have cheered. Being able to see Dustless being beaten was the best gift for Kaiwa Subaru. Being able to see Dustless die with his own eyes, even if he had to give up 10 years of his life. In his opinion, this was a good deal. Swish. Swish. Finally, under everyone's gaze, this terrifying sword pierced towards Dustless's head. Boom. 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 The moment the blade touched Dustless's head, it suddenly burst open, and an endless sea of fire erupted. The long sword in Julius's hand seemed to have sealed a large sea of fire. At this moment, all of it was released by him, and the endless fire was released. The space within a radius of dozens of meters was burnt, and all living things were forbidden. Under this blazing flame, any living thing would die without a doubt. Damn it! Seeing that the sea of fire couldn't be contained and was still spreading, and even coming towards him, Julius's face changed greatly, and he quickly retreated. Boom! 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 Even so, the raging sea of fire still swallowed him up. Julius was still in a very sorry state. His whole body was black, and even the smell of charcoal filled the air. When Julius appeared in front of everyone again, he had been burned beyond recognition. His whole body was black, and his hair. No, at this moment, he had become bald. Damn it, did I use too much strength? Julius cursed angrily. Looking at the monstrous sea of fire, he took a deep breath and said, "This is one of my strongest moves. To be able to die under this move, you should be able to close your eyes in the netherworld. Dustless, right? I will remember you forever." In the endless sea of fire, there were only surging flames. Not to mention people, even the air was burned to nothing. The sky was baked by the blazing flames, and the white-hot steam was clearly visible. Dustless. Amelia smiled sadly, and 2 lines of clear tears slowly fell from her pair of watery eyes. In this world, there were only 2 people who didn't look at her differently. One was Parker, and the other was Dustless. As for Keiichi Subaru, Amelia had automatically ignored her. Ha ha ha, dead, dead, finally dead. This bastard is finally dead. God still cares for me. Keiichi Subaru was overjoyed. Dustless died so miserably that there wasn't even a corpse. It could be seen that he was burned to ashes while he was still alive. Idiot, this is trampling on the dignity of knights. Seeing that Dustless was dead, the group of knights laughed out loud, mocking Dustless for overestimating himself. Perhaps he had a chance to fight with Julius if he drew his sword, but he was so arrogant that he insisted on giving Julius 3 moves. In the end, he died without a complete corpse. Humph. I swear. At this moment, a cold and delicate voice resounded throughout the whole place. Everyone couldn't help but shiver. This voice was like the speech of the Grim Reaper, and it was an oath to the giant dragon. In this country, the giant dragon represented a special meaning, and so did the oath. If Dustless is dead, I won't let you have an easy time, even if it means risking my life. The person who spoke was Amelia, who looked angry. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.